Hello and welcome to the June 2014 energy reading. I'm Adrienne Elise. Well, June is the month of the summer solstice, and so we're having a seasonal shift, and this is really highlighted by the 2014 astrology really pointing us in the direction, shooting us off into this age of Aquarius, this new world. We've had a lot of intense astrology helping us to define a new way of being, to find a new way of being, to clear what needs to be cleared. So the sun is in Gemini, and so we're having a lot of opportunity to analyze and figure out, think about things, have some realizations about the inner work that's been happening from that intense astrology in April 2014 and adjusting to that. So we've had these planets in retrograde this whole year. From first it was Venus, and then it was Mercury, and then Mars. And Mars just went direct a couple weeks ago. We just have a couple weeks of direct motion, and then all of a sudden Mercury goes retrograde. But it's actually really good timing, because Mars is our forward motion planet. It's the action planet. It's like, I want to passionately go out there and do it. And we're trying to move forward. We're trying to do that. But Mars this month comes back in to trigger the square, the Pluto Uranus Square, and it creates a T-square with Pluto and Uranus. So a lot of tension there. And so our forward motion is coming up against these generational changes in the universe, in our life, coming up against this and saying, what needs to move for us to really move forward? And so because we've had all this retrograde motion, when we do start to move forward, it may very well be, and it would be a great thing, and that's right in alignment with astrology, for your forward motion to be totally different from what you expected it to be last year. And so we have this forward motion, and then Mercury triggering that square, or Mars triggering that square again at the middle of the month. And so it's saying, hold up a minute. We want to move forward, but we got to figure out where we want to go. And that's where the Mercury retrograde comes in. It's actually a very supportive retrograde this time, because we have this sun in Gemini, and Mercury was in Gemini, and then and it's moved into Cancer, and then it moves back into Gemini in the retrograde. And so that's really important. It's telling us to rethink, reanalyzing, moving back to its home sign, and then back into Cancer in July. And so it's flavoring this whole energy of the last year and a half. We've had Jupiter in Cancer, which is the sign of home, the sign of security, of family. And Jupiter's at our expansive planet, and so we've kind of been we've been called to have an expansive view, a redefinition in a way of what it means to be home, what it really means to be safe on the earth, and redefining who we are in our home. And so this energy of the Mars moving forward, coming up against that square, but helping us redefine what it means to be home on the planet right now. And then Mercury going back into its sign of Gemini, and having this opportunity to analyze, to integrate all of the things, assimilate all of this intense astrology that's been going on. So we need this month of June to reevaluate our direction. But what's happening with that energy is that we're having this, especially with Jupiter really moving forward into new territory and moving into Leo next month. We're expanding these possibilities of home and understanding what this era has been about the last year and a half, of redefining ourselves as earthlings and what that really means. And so that is it's allowing us to keep in possibility. So the key to the month of June, to really make this energy work for you, is to allow yourself to expand into possibilities where things aren't working, where they're not moving forward the way you'd want to, the way Mercury can sometimes work in your life. There's really important messages there. It's like, hey, you have an opportunity here to do it a whole new way that you couldn't really maybe have imagined 6 months ago. And this is kind of the key to us stepping into this new world. We're saying, okay, well, there's this new things happening, right? There's supposed to be all these shifting, this changes, this incredible Pluto Uranus Square bringing these cultural and societal changes. But really these changes are happening within our individual self. And so that place, when you can be in that place of letting this new world exist in your life, letting possibility exist, letting yourself make micro adjustments and changes in the direction that you thought you wanted to go. And so there's just this beautiful opportunity of possibilities. And so on the 9th, Neptune goes retrograde as well. And Neptune is at home in the sign of Pisces. And so it's really speaking to our definition or defining or understanding the Piscean age in this retrograde. And that goes all the way to November. So the rest of this year is about reconciling and clearing that era, the Piscean era. And what happened basically is Pisces is about the collective consciousness. But the powers in control used our collective consciousness to keep us in control, to keep us in fear, to keep us in conformity, and to basically be farming our light this whole time. But we're waking up to this, and the beautiful thing is that we're seeing that we can use the collective unconsciousness to create these changes that we really want to see in the world as we wake up individually and then come back into that collective consciousness. And so both, we've got Mercury going retrograde and then Neptune going retrograde, but still that Mars is really pushing forward. And so it's kind of a push-pull time, and being open to dreams and visions and understanding and analyzing what this is really all about and how to move forward. And so on the 12th is the full moon in Sagittarius. And so the full moon is a very expansive time, and Sagittarius is a very expansive, it's the home of Jupiter, so that expansive planet, the dreamer, the big visionary energy. And so we're really getting that glimpse of being able to see what's possible beyond the reality that's been defined for us. And this can happen in a collective, but it also is going to be happening, especially with that Mars and Libra energy, which is relationships or forward motion relationships, where people have their perceptions of us, and they continue to define us in their perceptions. And we have to come up, this is a metaphor for what we're doing in the collective, is coming up against the way it's always been done. And the way it's always been done is not supporting the truth of who we are, this revolution of the self, this incredible spark of our creative individuality that's trying to come to the planet. So there's so much energy towards supporting living in your truth and bringing forward the truth of who you are. And so that full moon is going to be really powerful at the middle of the month. And on that same day, Venus comes into an opposition with Saturn. Now, Venus last month went through all the planets that were in the cardinal cross and kind of visited that whole energy. And so it's kind of bringing this element of love, self-love, compassion to these changes that we've been in. And now it comes directly opposite to Saturn. Saturn, our work, our duty, the definition, a structure of what it is we're supposed to be doing here on the planet. And so it's opposing what we love and taking care of ourselves. And so living our truth means being able to tend to our own soul needs. And so Venus is really helping us do that. And it's coming into opposite with that Saturn, having us redefine, helping us redefine what our work is here, what we're really supposed to be doing. And so the love, what we love, is coming in that opposition with that duty energy. And so really calling us to, it's just going to be an impulse towards having the strength to make those changes, to live your soul truth, to take care of yourself on a deep level, to stand up in your life and say, you know what, this doesn't feel right to me. I need to be doing what I really care about. I need to be activating this passion. That's what Mars is asking us to do here in its forward motion. So Venus is at home in Taurus for pretty much the month of June, and that's a really sweet energy because so it's opposing Saturn, but it's home in Taurus, and Taurus it's comfortable there. It's just a sweet placement. And so it's allowing us to come to more comfort in these changes, because they're not going to stop. We still have all this shifting happening. And so we are getting, but we're learning to get more comfortable and to love ourselves through these changes and to have compassion for ourselves and to stand up for ourselves, and come out of that conformity and be able to start to do it our own way. But then next month, when Venus is moving into Gemini, then that happens on the 23rd actually of June, then we're going to have this unrest, because there's a lot, like Gemini has a lot of this kind of mental energy, there's a lot of unrest, and so when Venus moves in there, then we're going to have, and then as Mercury goes direct, then we're really going to feel like we can take this Mars motion, take that passion forward in a whole new way, and redefining, it's like we'll have enough unrest in what we love, analyzing these changes, and kind of seeing new ways to be able to move forward in ways that we didn't think were possible. So this is what's starting to happen in the changes on the planet and individually, but it's really starting to see things that, like, all of a sudden you're kind of going through your life and then you see something, even though it feels like you're coming up against obstruction and limitation in trying to do things differently and in these shifts and changes, but then sometimes you look and you say, wait a minute, that's interesting. That person who was maybe narrow-minded or whatever has all of a sudden had this awakening, this shift. And that's something I never thought could change. So we're seeing shifts and changes and things that we never thought could change. And it's not so easy to see it in yourself, but that's really what this energy is about. And so it's pretty powerful as we start to really be able to move forward for the first time, as we have this, after this Mercury retrograde, and being like, okay, what direction do I go in? How do I figure this out? How do I move forward? And then we're really going to be feeling and seeing demonstrations, these people that have been working on new ideas and new leaders and coming forward. This is going to be happening, and so we're going to be able, it's going to feel better to start seeing our new world in action, this new paradigm in action, and it'll give strength and support for coming up against those old belief systems. As you try to change yourself, it's very difficult to come up against people who are defining you, continue to define you in your past identity. And that's exactly what this Neptune retrograde in Pisces is asking us to do, is redefine our collective identity. What does that mean? So the solstice is on the 21st, and that's when the sun moves into Cancer. And this is really, the Cancer energy is really going to be about what has this Jupiter and Cancer era been about. What have we really been learning about Jupiter and Cancer? And Mercury will also be in Cancer. And so it's just like defining our era. And it's perfect timing just before Jupiter moves into a new sign of Leo, where Leo is the expression of this new world, of what it means to be home and Mother Earth. And so that's going to be that kind of refreshing shift. So the new moon is on the 27th, and that's in Cancer, so that's really going to activate this Cancer energy. And so at that point we'll have the Sun, Jupiter, and Mercury all in Cancer. And so it's like, what does this mean? What is this era? What did we learn by this Jupiter and Cancer era before we shift into this expression of what we learned, this demonstrating of what we learned as Jupiter goes into this Leo expressive, and a lot of celebration. I think that we've gone through a lot of difficult times, and so we're going to feel a little lightness, feel a little support for the new way, and be finding our soul team, these people that have been off working on these things on their own, and then we can find them and feel supported in our dreams and visions, and as that expression starts to happen. And so the more people that come together and support each other in a new way of being, the more we can actually start to implement that on the planet. So Venus comes into a square with Neptune, so it's kind of interesting because Neptune has just gone retrograde, and it's like, oh, what does this age of Pisces mean? And then Venus has just had the opposition with Saturn, the love versus duty, what you love, what you're here to do, can we reconcile these things? And so as Venus comes into a square with Neptune, it's kind of redefining, I feel like it has to do with redefining the Piscean age and taking the good parts about it, loving, finding love and compassion for that kind of being lost in that place of, in that collective consciousness of being sheeple, of just going along with the paradigms, the religious paradigms, the control paradigms, the financial control paradigms, and just kind of, we're waking up to that. Venus is going to be helping us shift this collective consciousness to work towards the new instead of holding this old shadow in place. And so it's calling us to, this whole astrology of June is calling us to redefine pretty much every day, to stay in possibilities of what's possible. That, oh yeah, okay, I feel impetus, I feel change, I've gone through these things, oh, I have a new direction, I've let go of some things that weren't working. It's still this month, it's about that Mars coming up, the forward motion against that square, being like, what needs to shift in the structures of my life to support the truth of who I am. But there's power behind it with that Mars direct, and we're feeling like we're really going to get somewhere, and so it just is feeling more settled. But to use this most effectively, stay completely open to possibilities, to new directions. This Mercury retrograde is really powerful because it's helping us analyze and understand this new era, this new definition we've come up of being an expansive home of Earth, to feel that collective consciousness in a positive level, that, oh, we're all one here, and so we can change this. We can start running our own program because we see our interconnectedness, and having that Venus, the blessing of all this Venus energy from last month and this month as well at home in Taurus, to kind of feel more comfortable in ourselves, loving ourselves enough to face every day, being able to redefine ourselves in the face of the old. You know, if you've ever had a conversation with someone where you're trying to explain a concept, but because they have a concept that they believe or see in their mind, and no matter how much you try to say to them what this concept is, they can only see what they perceive. This is metaphorically what's going on with this old paradigm. We keep getting fed, this is the way that we do things. And so we have an opportunity to shift that and stop and redefine ourselves every day, using this energy of Mercury retrograde to stay in possibility. Be like, oh, that direction wasn't quite moving, so where do I put my energy? How do I move forward? And then July should be pretty amazing, where we have Saturn going direct, we have Jupiter moving into Leo, we have some resolution, Mercury moving back in to Cancer, and feeling this expression of our new world, and feeling like we can find the people that are on our level to help us move in these new directions. So your forward motion with Mars in Libra has to do with the relationships, and so it's relationships that are having a shakedown on some level, but it's also relationships that help us get to the next place. And so there's very key people that can come into your life. Stay aware, stay vigilant, just pay attention in this month of June as we reanalyze our forward motion and start to reconcile the fight that we've had, our passion of moving forward in life, but trying to do it in a whole new way. And so just stay in possibility, stay in that place of being willing to shift and change and adjust, because what could be forward, what's ahead of you, the key right now is to understand that it could be better than you can even imagine. And so if we get stuck on how it's supposed to look in our future, the way we're supposed to move forward and trying to go out there and change what's out there, that's not the effective way to go about it. We need to change from within. We need to be here with this process and understand, use this Gemini energy to start analyzing and understanding so that we can adjust our forward motion, and that will feel so good as we can start to come into expression in July and August of this new world and start feeling, oh, okay, it's starting to really make sense, all this we've been going through, and feeling that support of the community coming forward to resonate with, that Mars energy coming into that square, what needs to change, what needs to change. When you make those changes, when you let go of what isn't working, what's not supporting, then you can open up to that amazing support that's available on all levels. And that's the shift we're in for June. And that means just kind of being able to let go and listen to the signs and change your direction. So enjoy the month of June. I appreciate you being with me in this video, and I look forward to being with you next month. I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.